Hello, I'm Mr. Potts, and I run a casino on the friendly Seattle server in Rust. And I've been asked before to make a tutorial on how to make a slot machine. So I figured I'd start with a pretty simple slot machine that you could pretty realistically get up on a normal Rust server. So you purchase a note from the vending machine, and then you look above the drop box at these lights. And a red light is a loss, and a green light is a win. So that one lost. And that one lost. Sometimes you get unlucky. There we go. That's a winner. So I think it's easier if we just start from the very beginning. All right. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to start with the storage monitor on the back of the vending machine, because that's how you actually get the game started. And then I'm going to give myself a test generator so I can have some power. Typically this would be some wind turbines and some batteries, but I'm just going to use a test generator so it's consistent. I'm going to combine all three of those test generator outputs with root combiners into one output. And then I'm going to give myself some branches on the ground here. And these are going to be root power. So this is anything that needs to be constantly powered. I'm not really sure exactly how many I need. I'm just giving myself enough to work with to start. I'm going to hook all these together, going from power out to power in. And then I'm plugging the power out from here. There we go. So now we got some root power. We got constant power to work with. And I want a timer to be flipped when the storage monitor is activated, and I want that timer to activate this row of branches. So these branches are off until this timer is flipped. I'm going to run these all together, going from power out to power in. I'm going to plug the power into the timer, the root power, and I'm going to power the storage adapter. And I'm going to go power out from the storage adapter into the toggle function on the timer. So that way, anytime something is taken out or put into this vending machine, it'll flip that timer. And by default, it's set to 10 seconds. We'll change that later. But you'll notice that it's only passing power through to the first one, and that's because we don't have enough power going in to this timer. We only have 2 power going in. Here, let me put down a TC so we can see the wires. Now we can see where the wires are running. So we only have 2 power going into the timer, and we're going to need, I don't know, at least 12. We'll start with that. We can adjust it at the end. Okay, so I've noticed there's not a lot of documentation on the RAND switches and how they work. And the way they work is if you just plug them in, they will automatically not let power through. But if you add power to this set function here, it has a 50% chance to allow pass-through. So that one didn't, that one did, that one didn't, that one did, etc., so on and so forth. And the way I like to use these is I just power them and set them with the same branch. Keeps things simple. So I go from the branch out, and I only branch out one power to the set function, and then the rest of the power powers the RAND switch, and that will be the power that's passed through. So now if you power this, here, let's get a light up here so it's a good demonstration. So now if you power this bottom branch, it has a 50% chance to turn on the light. So that's a fail. If it's a red light, it's a fail. Red light's a fail. Red light's a fail. Red light's a fail. There we go. Green light. It allowed pass through to the light. And we can use this to make it have a 1 in 2 chance of turning on a green light. And if I want it to have a 1 in 4 chance to turn on the green light, let's unplug everything here. I would go from the branch out, 1 power to set. Same with this one. And then I would power out. Here, let me do this one first. I'd power the RAND switch, power that RAND switch. And now I have a 50% chance when I power this to make it through the first one. So if I want it to have a 25% chance to happen, I just pass that through to another RAND switch. So now it has a 50% chance to make it through the first RAND switch, and the second 50% chance to make it through the second one, making it a 25% chance to make it through both. So if I plug that into the light, you should see that 1/4 of the time, 1 in 4, it will turn on that light. Randomly, of course. I mean, it can go 8 or 16 times without actually turning it on. And you can see that it just keeps failing at the first one, and that time it made it through both logic gates. That time it made it through both again. So if you want people to only have a 1 in 4 chance of winning, you can just add a string of RAND switches. So that's how to randomize something to either turn on a light or to turn off a light. But I want it to randomize to turn on either a red light or a green light. So I'm going to build a little switch here. This switch does all the magic for pretty much any slot machine I make. Instead of being a switch where it is on or off, it's going to be either output A or output B. So the way I do that, I'm going to set all these branches to 1, because we only need 1 power to do all the things I want to do. And I'm going to combine all these branches together. And then this branch out is going to go to the set function on the RAND switch to check and see if it's going to be a pass or a fail. This branch out is going to go to the power in on the RAND switch, because we want 1 power to 50% of the time pass through here and hit the set function. So 50% of the time we want this power out to hit the set function. And then so this happens, this will power our memory cell. And this is the branch that happens by default. And what I mean by that is if this branch fails, this branch out, we'll come and hit the reset, which activates this left output. Let's see, let me get some power here. So if this logic gate fails, this one will hit the reset function, making this memory cell red. If this one passes, if the RAND switch passes, power will go through here and actually hit the set function on the memory cell, making it green. So basically what we've got here, we've made a switch where instead of being it either on or off, it's either A or B. And I can demonstrate that with a red and green light. Actually, that'd probably make a little bit more sense if we swapped that around, huh? So there's output A, and there's output B. So now 50% of the time it'll be a red light, and 50% of the time it'll be a green light. Alright, and we're going to use that to determine if a player wins scrap or not. So I'm going to put a drop box on the front of my house here. You always got to place it from the back, because if you place it from the front, you can't put a storage adapter on it. A little crooked, but that's not too bad. So get a storage adapter on your vending machine and on your drop box. I like to put lights on the drop box. So I'm going to put a red light on one, red light on half, green light on the other half if I can. There we go. A little bit messy, but that's fine. On my server, I can put pictures from the internet on signs, but if you can't, you could just do something crazy like this. Oh yeah, that looks good. What am I doing? There we go, that's beautiful. Okay, so this is going to be our output A, which is a red light, that means they lose. This is going to be our output B, which is a green light, means they win. So we can just take this right from here. That's our output A, that's the red light. Output B, green light. Okay, so now whenever we power this switch here, it just moved our lights out here. So that's when this is green, that'll be a green light out there. When it's red, it'll be a red light out there. Okay, so we don't want that powered all the time though. We only want that powered if they are playing the game, if they purchased a note from the vending machine. So that's why we've got these the power out going from this storage monitor to this timer, and we're going to go from this timer to our switch there. So now whenever I hit this timer, and I'm going to go ahead and set it to like 6 seconds, whenever I hit the timer, it'll activate this switch. I didn't give enough power. I think it takes 4 power, so I'll give it 5 and see if that's enough. Okay, whenever I hit this, perfect. It's outputting 2 power to the red light. Since it's red, it's outputting 2 power to the red light. Let's see if we can get it to be green. There we go. And when it's green, it's outputting 2 power to the green light. And you can see this green light will have 1 power left because the light eats a power. So now we can make it, if they win, if they get a green light, it'll activate this second timer with a row of branches. Who knows how many we'll need? I just add a few. And we'll power this timer. I don't know how much power I'll need here either. I'll set it to like 10 for now. I want this to also be like 6 seconds because this is going to give the player their scrap and also check and see if they get a jackpot. So right now I want to make it to so if they get the green light, I'm going to go from the pass through from the green light into our second timer up here, which is our win timer. So now if they win, if they get the green light, this timer will flip. Let's see if we can demonstrate that. That's a loss. That's a win, and our timer flipped. So now we can use that to make this give them scrap using the conveyor system. So I know from experience that I'm going to need a conveyor to put a note in the vending machine. I'm going to need a conveyor to take the scrap out of the vending machine, and I might actually need 2. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to need a couple conveyors to put scrap into the drop box. And then I'm going to need a whole bunch of conveyors, I think 8, to pay out the jackpot if they win. Because I like to deposit it all in one chunk. You could just use one conveyor, but then they're sat there waiting forever while their money pays out. Here, I'm going to give myself a little bit more room. Okay, so we've now got it to where when they win, we can branch out 2 power from here to, it's actually going to be 4 power. Actually, no, we'll do 2 power each. We'll do 2 power here and 2 power here. So now when it wins, we're going to activate these conveyors. So now it will activate those 2 conveyors when they win. And we need to go from the pass-through on these conveyors to the turn-on function. And that will just pass through the extra 1 power in to turn it on. That way, every time this is turned on, every time this timer is flipped, the conveyors will actually turn on and start moving stuff. Because if you only, if you don't do that, and then you try to pay someone out, so they can get turned off, or sometimes server reset will turn them off and they can do weird things. So I just don't want to ever risk it, so I just make power out, turn on the conveyor. Okay, so now when they win, these 2 conveyors will turn on and move 100 scrap into the drop box here. I mean, we got to still pipe it up and make it so that actually works. We'll do that later. So I'm going to do the system where it moves a note into the vending machine. And you only ever want to have 1 note in the vending machine because you don't want people to be able to buy it twice. Like while the game's still playing, be able to buy another note and waste their money. So, let's get a box, and I set a little box here with a garage door over it, and I mean, I play on a friendly server, so I don't usually have to worry too much about people breaking my stuff. They're still allowed to break my things, but you know, I don't really have much of an issue with it. So I'm fine just having a box here. And it's not, they wouldn't get anything if they break it anyway. It just mess up my my system here. So this is going to be a box where when they buy a note from the vending machine, they can deposit their notes in this box and it'll recycle it back into the vending machine. So that way it never runs out of notes. And the note is just an arbitrary thing. You could sell rocks, you could sell anything. I sell notes. Sometimes I write little like jokes on the notes, so when people get them, they'll have a little joke written on them. But you can sell anything that doesn't stack. I know I'm actually going to need another conveyor to move notes from this outside box into this inside box. This box is going to be the note box that feeds the vending machine. So every time it's played, the customer is going to get this note, and then this box is going to deposit another note in there right when the game is ready to be played again. So first, let's set up the recycling system. This one is very simple. It's just out from this box, in to that box, and then change the filter, make that notes, no max, and then power this from root power. Give it 2 power. And do the same thing we did before, pass through to turn on. That way this is always running. So if I deposit a note, and let me get some notes. If I deposit a note in here, it's constantly checking for notes, and it'll constantly keep moving notes from this outside box into the inside box. Actually, I might need those later. Okay, so that's the recycling system. That's really easy. So now we need to make it deposit a new note in here right when it's ready to be played again. And the way we do that with this one is it actually doesn't need any delay or anything. Because a conveyor takes about 5 seconds to move one chunk of items. So if I just go straight from this, remember this is our play timer. So if you hit this timer goes off every time the game is played. And so if I go from that just directly into this conveyor and have that turn itself on, and then set this one to note max 1, so that's checking the output container and seeing if it has 1, and if it has 1, it'll not put another one in there, so that it'll only have 1 at a time in there. That goes out into our machine, into our vending machine, and the input is our note box here, our box of notes. So now it is checking to see, every time it's played, this will check to see if there's 1 note in the vending machine, and if there's not, which there shouldn't be, then it'll deposit a note in there. And if you saw, it put 1 note in there. So now every time I remove the note or buy the note, it will put a new one in there every 5 seconds. And it's taking it from our note box here, which I usually have several boxes strung together filled with notes, so people can't forget to recycle, and then my machine breaks. It won't restock the note at the end. So alright, there's that's the note system. So now it'll restock a note every time we need one. So now we got to give ourselves a box of scrap. So I'll usually have a box of scrap somewhere in the back with industrial piping, Here, let's give myself a bunch of scrap. So I usually have a box or 2 boxes in the back filled with scrap, and one reason why I would use 2 boxes, besides making it harder for a raider to get all my loot, is if you are moving something from 2 boxes using a splitter, you can actually move double the amount. So like normally if you're only moving from 1 box, you can only move 60 scrap at a time. But if you're moving from 2 boxes, you can actually move like 200 or 300. I haven't really checked exactly what it is, and it seems to change. But I'm just going to assume, for simplicity, that we're going to use 1 box of scrap in the back. This is somewhere behind in your base, somewhere secure, because we don't want people raiding through our window here and hoping that there's scrap in the back of this machine, because there won't be scrap in the back of the machine. And we are going to give ourselves, we're going to go from our scrap box, and we're going to go into some splitters, because we have several things drawing from our scrap box. We have our normal win, so if they win, they get some scrap from our scrap box, and our jackpot win, all of these conveyors. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inputs from the scrap box. So if I give myself some splitters here until I have 10 outputs, I don't know how many that's going to be, probably that. This is going to go into our first splitter, and then this splitter is just going to divide itself into all these other splitters. And then I'll go to the next splitter in line. That's going to divide itself into all the next remaining ones. And then I have several outputs from that 1 box now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I actually gave myself a little bit too much, but that's fine. So now we have our scrap box split 13 ways. And we can plug all those 13 ways. I'll actually just start with these 2 from the win. So if you win right here, this turns on. We want it to take 100 scrap from our scrap box and move it into the drop box. So we're going to set this to scrap. The buffer is how much it's going to move at a time. Since we're only drawing from 1 box, it can only move a maximum of 60 at a time. We want it to move 100, so I'm just going to do 50. I'm going to copy that and paste it down here. So that's 50 twice. 50 plus 50 is 100. So now if they won, it'll do 50 plus 50 scrap output into the drop box, which is 100 scrap. And we've also got to combine all of these conveyors into this 1 input for the drop box. So we're going to do that. In from that. And then we need 10 different outputs. So we can go probably that many. Combine these all into 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. And then out from this into here, and this is just combining all of these inputs into 1 output. Now it's the exact opposite of what we did up here. And these are our win conveyors. There we go. So now, since we've got it set 50 scrap on each of these, and we've got it going into the drop box from our scrap box, every time they win, it'll deposit 100 scrap into our drop box. But it's actually depositing it into the back of our drop box, because if the drop box has room in the back, it'll deposit in the back of the drop box. If the drop box is full, it'll actually deposit into the front of the drop box. And you could actually use a small box or any sort of container out here. I just kind of like the drop box because it's on the wall. It's nice and clean. So the way I get around that is I fill this with notes. Fill this with something that doesn't stack. That way, if we win, the back is full, so it puts it in the front. Ta-da! So now, 50% of the time, they will get the win, and they'll get 100 scrap deposited in the front. And the green light will come on to let them know they won. So we're already almost done here. So that's a loss. That's a loss. Okay. So this, let's do this system next. This is going to take the scrap out of our vending machine and put it back into our scrap box in the back. And the way we're going to do that is with these filters, we're going to set these to scrap, both of them. I'm going to make it cost 60 scrap, so we could probably get away with only using one conveyor, but I'm going to use two just in case. I want it to always, I don't want to like push the maximum there. So now every time the game is played, we need it to move the scrap out of the back of the vending machine. So this is our play, and I'm going to add another branch here. And we're doing 2 power from each of these, going into our conveyor. And I'm going to do the same thing with the pass-through going to turn on. So now every time the game's played, these two conveyors will light up. And we're going to make those take scrap from the vending machine. I moved it into a splitter here because I only have one output on the vending machine, so I had to split it 3 different ways. You can make this look all nice if you wanted to. I'm not worried too much about running pipes in weird places. Okay, so now we've got 2 inputs coming from our vending machine, and it's going to go out to our scrap box. Well, we don't actually have 2 inputs on our box, so I'm going to use a combiner. You could also just add another 2 of these, but I prefer to use a combiner that because I'm going to have, I usually have 4 machines in my casino. It's going to have, you know, many different ways to go into my scrap box, so I use these combiners, and I'm only actually going to need to move from these 2 conveyors into my scrap box, so 1 is fine. I'll plug that into my scrap box. There we go. So now this combines all 3 of those into my scrap box, and I'm going to go out from our scrap conveyors here to the scrap box. Okay, so now that's set up. Now every time I buy a note, let's say I make it cost 60 scrap. Every time I buy a note, actually here I'll just administrate this. Sell notes for scrap, 60 scrap. There. Now every time I buy a note, it will take my 60 scrap, move it out of the machine into the scrap box, and deposit another note. It does that at the same time. That way you're not getting a bunch of scrap piling up in your vending machine. People can raid through it and take your stuff. So I think just about done with the main game. Now we got to do the jackpot. It's actually really easy. We're going to do another timer here for our jackpot. Link them all together like we did before. Alright, so we want, they have a 50% chance to win as it is. So if you make it so on the wins, they have a chance on the wins to win even more money. So let's say the normal win amount is 100 scrap, like it's going to be. The jackpot can be 500 scrap. If you make it an overall chance of 1 in 128 to win. I'll show you how you can do that. So remember, the very first thing I showed you was if you string 2 rand switches together, you can turn something from a 1 in 2 chance to a 1 in 4 chance, and then the next one doubles again, so it would be a 1 in 8 chance. And this one would be 1 in 16, and 1 in 32, and then 1 in 64. If we chain all those together, that means if we, so I'm going to chain all these together like this, got to set all these to 1. We go from the branch out to the set on all of these. And power out to power in. And then I'm just going to chain them together from power out to the next one. So now what we've done is we made it so if this receives power and it gets enough power, 1 in 64 times, it will allow pass through to here. And you can kind of see the progress here. That one made it through 2 of the 6 logic gates. That one made it through 0. That one made it through 1. So you can tell because only the first rand switch is lit up. 1, 0, 0, 2. That one made it through 3. I don't think I'm ever going to get it. It's a 1 in 64 chance for me to get that green light to light up. Ooh, close. Made it through all but 1. Anyway, you're just going to have to trust me that it's a 1 in 64 chance when you set it up this way. And we want it to be a 1 in 64 chance because they already have a 1 in 2 chance, a 50% chance of winning. So we want the overall chance on a spin to be 1 in 128. And since they only win half the time, we can make it so half. So 1 in 64 of the wins pays the jackpot, and that equals 1 in 128 total. I don't know if that makes sense, but okay. So we're gonna make this activate every time they get a win, because we want every time they get a win, it's gonna check to see if they get a jackpot instead, and that's going to take, I think, 2 power per set of switches here. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I'm going to give it 13. That might be overkill, but let's see. And then I'm going to change this one. I need more power into this switch because it doesn't have enough to give me the full 13 here. So I'm going to change the power on this switch to whatever this is plus this, which is going to be 13, 15, 17. So I'm going to change the power from this to 17. Give me enough power to do everything I want. So that should give me 13 out of there with 0 remaining. Hey, I almost won the jackpot. Okay, so now when they win, which is 50% of the time, so that's a loss. There's a win. Now when they win, it'll go through this extra set of switches here and check to see if they get a jackpot. And if they do get a jackpot, and they make it through that last logic gate, it's going to activate this timer. This is our jackpot timer. So we've got our play timer, our win timer, and our jackpot timer. That one we're going to plug in here. Once again, I don't really know exactly how much power it's going to take, so I'm just going to give it 12. I mean, if you're coming from wind turbines and batteries and stuff, and you're really struggling for power, you could be really precise and go through here and be like, hit the switch, and then look at the end branch and see how much power you have left over, and reduce the power in by that amount. So see, I have 1 power being wasted right here. I could lower this in from 12 to 11, and I would still get everything done I want for now. I can check this one. This one's good. Alright, so this is our jackpot timer. This one we want to also be 6 seconds, because it's going to activate all our conveyors over here, moving a bunch of scrap into our box here. So I'm actually going to need 8 different outputs here from the jackpot. Let's see if it's going to fight with that. No, we're good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plug these all together. And actually, I'm gonna need another one, but I've got this extra. I'll do one more. I'm gonna want one for a siren light or some sort of display telling them they got the jackpot. I don't know if a lot of people know. This is probably a little late to mention this, but if you hold Shift when you're next to a component, it'll lock the component to the other one. See, I can lock it to that. I can lock it to this this conveyor. Anyway, I thought that was cool. So all of these are going to need 2 power to turn on all of our conveyors. One thing that is a fun little trick too is you can have multiple wire tools if you're doing the same thing. So I can grab the first, the second, and the third input. See what I did there with my, I used the first wire tool, and I swapped to my second wire tool, and then my third wire tool. So now I've got all of those plugs. I can come over here and go 1, 2, 3. I can plug in the first one, the second one, and the third one. And I can do the same thing with the next 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then I've just got 2 more here. I'm going to do it from here. 1, 2. And then all of these, we're going to take the pass through to the turn on, just like we've done with all the other conveyors. Alright, so now when the jackpot goes off, all those conveyors should light up. Apparently, I guess I don't have enough power. That makes sense. I'm going to go from 12 to 20. And I got 2 left over. Okay, so now when you get the jackpot, all of those conveyors will light up. Since the jackpot is, we're going to make the jackpot 500 scrap. They've already won 100 scrap, because one of the prerequisites to getting the jackpot is they would have had to win 100 scrap. So the jackpot, the remaining jackpot amount is 400 scrap. So we're going to go 400 scrap divided by these 8 conveyors. We're going to make each of these conveyors convey 50 scrap. 50 times 8 is 400. I guess there's actually an easier way to do this here. If we copy, we can just go through here and paste, paste. I've noticed when you do this though, sometimes it doesn't save. It doesn't save it. So I like to go back through there. See, that one didn't save. I like to go back through there and make sure it got all of them. See, there's another one. Okay, so we've got all these conveyors set to 50 scrap. So that way when they get a jackpot, it'll move 50 scrap plus the, 400 scrap plus the 100 scrap from their earlier win making a total of 500 scrap. Sorry, I've been hitting that button a lot. Okay, so now we just need to pipe this up in the same way we did with the win. So these are coming from our scrap box, which, remember, these splitters are also coming from our scrap box. So out from our splitter into these conveyors. You can also do the same thing that we did with the wire tool, where you use multiple pipe tools to hook up your conveyors a lot faster, but I don't think it's really worth it for me to spawn some in for only 8. It's not going to save me that much time. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just going from the output of these splitters into the input of these conveyors. And then I'm going to go from these conveyors. They all need to combine into this drop box because it's conveying our scrap into this drop box. So all of these go output. And you know what? I actually changed my mind. I think it is going to be faster if I spawn some pipe tools here. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 5, 3, 1. Alright. Hopefully you kind of got a hang of it by now. You can see what I'm doing. I'm just plugging all of these conveyors into the combiners here, which is going into this drop box. Okay, so we're pretty much set up here. A few more things I want to do that are just kind of for fun. But basically we've got to where if you buy a note, you have a 50% chance to get a green light, and that'll give you 100 scrap. And you should theoretically get a red light half the time too, over the long run. People underestimate how many times you can get a win in a row or a loss. Sometimes people will say, "Oh man, I think it's broken. I've won 8 times in a row," and I say, "No, you're just lucky." Anyway, so I like to have it a little bit more fun, so I'm gonna add a boom box, 2 boom boxes. I'm gonna do one for if they win, and one for if they get the jackpot. So both of these are just going to get root power of 10. They take 10 power. Okay, so I just powered them with 10. I'm going to throw some timers on the wall because I don't want them to play forever. I want them to just play for a certain amount of time. And we'll power those. Those are just going to need like probably 1 power each, but I'm going to give them 2 just to be safe. Alright. I'm going to go power out from this into here. So the left timer powers the turns on the left boom box, and the right timer turns on the right boom box. I'm going to set the left one to like 2 seconds. Set the right one to 20. And I'm actually going to do a siren light for the jackpot as well. It's a little bit more fun here. Or I could do a neon light. The neon light would be fun. I think neon is what I had for this other one. Yeah. So this other one, if you win the jackpot, it pops up with a neon sign saying jackpot alert. But for simplicity's sake, it's the same exact thing. I'm just going to use a siren light. So if they win, sorry, if they win Jackpot, we want it to pass through 1 power to toggle this right timer. So now they won Jackpot, this timer will go off for 20 seconds and play our boombox for 20 seconds. But I'm actually going to make that into a branch, and instead of going into our boombox, it's going to go into our branch, and we're going to branch off 1 power to the... Actually, no, there's an easier way to do this. We can use... We'll go from power out. Instead of going to the boombox, we're going to go to the siren light here. And then we're going to go pass through from the siren light into the toggle play on the boombox. There it is. So now, when we hit this timer, the siren light turns on, and it goes through the siren light into the boombox to make the boombox make noise. Alright, and now we want to make it so there's a little sound that plays if you win. There's a program on Steam called Soundpad. They have a demo, and you can use it like 15 times before you have to close the program and open it back up and use it. And you can just play sounds through your microphone. There's also a million different ways you can do that. One of the easiest ways to do it is to get yourself a cassette recorder and a cassette tape and go like this. Doot-doo-doo, doot-doo-doo. There we go. That should work. And so we're going to take our cassette right there. Oh, and not quite enough time. Let's give it 3 seconds. I don't know if you can hear that. I have my cassettes turned down a little bit. So now if we win, it should play our corny little doot-doo-doo sound. After we got to set that up. I'm going to give myself one more branch here for the win timer. Make it go through one more. And give it another 2 power. So it's got 17 right now. I'm going to give it 19. Okay, so now I have 2 power for this. Actually only need 1. Alright, we're going to make this hit this timer. So now when they win, it'll flip this timer as well and play our little sound. Very nice. Alright, and when we hit the jackpot, it should do a siren light and some music, question mark. There it goes. Alright, I think the whole thing is pretty much functional. Let me see if I'm forgetting anything here. Let's demo it a few times. There's our sound. Oh, I left a bunch of scrap in there. We lost. We get nothing. Good day, sir. We lose. And I like to really try when I'm setting up a new slot machine. I really like to try to abuse it and spin it as fast as I can and do things that other people are going to do, because other people will not know exactly how the thing works and will mess it up any way they can. So we won. We made our sound. We get 100 scrap. And if you do the math here, so it costs 60 scrap. When you win, you only get 100 scrap. That means 50% of the time I'm getting 10 scrap profit. So after the 128 spins that on average it would take for someone to win the jackpot, I have made 128 divided by 2, because I've only won half the time, times 10. So 64 times 10 scrap, 640 scrap. And then for the jackpot, they win 500 scrap. So that's profit on average after 128 spins of 140 scrap. Alright, so that's basically it for this slot machine. Let me show off my other slot machines for a minute. This is that one I showed at the beginning. It's just, it's the same one we just made. I made a dice game. Where's that at? Here's my dice game. If you score a 7 or higher, you win money. I think when I did this on the live server, I actually had to make it so if you score 8 or higher, because you actually have a 50% chance to get a 7 or higher on 2 dice. But you buy one, it rolls a number, and it counts up your score here too. 4 plus 2 is 6. I didn't win. There's all the math for that. Don't mind the boat. What is this one? Oh. This one, so sometimes when I'm trying to figure out how much I should make a slot machine cost, I will set up a simulation where it will spin something 1,000 times and tell me how many times it paid out and how many times it was spun, so I can tell how much money it would have paid out and how much I need to make the ticket cost. So if you see, it's just simulating this game over and over and over again, and counting how many times that it wins each prize. So see, that's this game is 3 in a row wins. So three red lights wins 100 scrap, 3 green lights wins 200 scrap. So that one's just simulating this over and over again, so I can tell how much the ticket should cost. Should be another one over here somewhere. There it is. This one's like a choose a case slot machine. I think they're all still functioning. Choose a case, it says. You pick one. I won 100 scrap. No, there's already some in there, but you get the idea. This is a really fancy one that I made a while back on the live server. It's Potsy. It's a lot like Yahtzee. I just made it legally different so I don't get sued. 6, 4, 5, 1, 2. Not a winner. So you have to, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Yahtzee, but you have to get like 3 of a kind, or full house, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 type situation. Hey, I won. I got a 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyway, what else do I got? This is another simulation I was doing. This one's like a 3 in a row bingo or tic-tac-toe situation. So if they get 3 in a straight line, they win 100 scrap, and they can get multiple wins per play. Oh, there was a little bit of lag. See if I can get one that wins 2. That one won. That one won. There you go, that's a 2, because that was the left in the middle. And it's just counting the spins, counting the outcomes for me. Anyway, yeah, thought I'd show off some of my other slot machines. I've got probably a dozen of them made at this point. Different slot machines. This one's a fun one. This one's a progressive jackpot. Every time you buy it, the jackpot should go up by 10. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, there we go. Make sure it's still functioning. And it actually shares a progressive jackpot with this other one. Oh, maybe it's not working. Well, it's almost working, but it shares its progressive jackpot with the other one. It has a chance for free spins. Maybe I'll show you guys how to make this type of slot machine on the next video. But anyway, thank you for listening to me rant for whoever knows how long, and I'll see you later.